Let's face it, freestyle is the obvious stroke of choice for virtually every triathlete when we enter a race, and therefore tends to also be the obvious stroke of choice during our swim training too. However, there are 3 other strokes available to you as an alternative option during your swimming training with some great advantages to them. So today, I thought we'd discuss why you should consider including them into your triathlon training and how you go about doing that. Okay, so what are these other strokes that I'm talking about? Well, in order of their relative usefulness to us as triathletes, in my opinion, we have backstroke, breaststroke, and then butterfly. However, if you are still learning the ropes with the freestyle technique and getting the hang of it, I would suggest that you focus all your attention and energy on mastering that technique first. However, if you are pretty happy with your technique and feel for the water with the freestyle stroke, then by all means feel free to mix things up, start including these other strokes to add a little bit more variety to your swimming and enjoyment in the water. Now you may have heard of the term individual medley, and this is when all 4 strokes are swum in equal measures, one after the other. We start off with butterfly, then into backstroke, breaststroke, and then finishing off with freestyle. Now of all the 4 strokes, it's probably that first one, butterfly, that you need to worry about the least. I say that, I do include butterfly into my own training because it can help to add some strength to your swimming. But it is probably the stroke that is the most technically demanding in terms of trying to get to grips with, and also can be quite physically demanding. Whereas backstroke and breaststroke are far easier to get the hang of and very easy to start including in your workouts and adding that variety, amongst having loads of other benefits to them. One of which is injury prevention. See, for a lot of triathletes, swimming tends to be the discipline that they've come to later in life, or maybe it's just their weaker discipline, and therefore the possibility of getting an overuse injury from diving in quite literally to swimming too much too soon is much higher. See, that repetitive movement of spinning the arms over with freestyle can exert quite a lot of pressure on the shoulders, and obviously that is magnified with a flawed or poor technique. So this is where those alternative strokes come in to save the day. So backstroke is probably the obvious place to start. I tend to refer to it as if you're unwinding your arms. It's the opposite motion from the freestyle stroke, so it really helps to relax those shoulders. But the benefits don't stop there, because it is a fairly fast stroke to perform. We're able to cover quite good distances with it, so we can keep that aerobic fitness up, all whilst giving you a bit of a break from staring at the bottom of the pool and maybe just from the freestyle stroke if you are having to focus on certain technical aspects with your freestyle technique. Breaststroke, on the other hand, is really quite a different movement and motion. So what I normally suggest is you really ease yourself into it. Try and keep the movements quite small. Try and keep the kick a little bit more narrow than normal, particularly if you're new to performing breaststroke or you haven't performed it in quite a long time, because what you find is some muscles can be quite tight, particularly the adductors, and you can strain them. But on the other hand, that can actually help with just improving some flexibility and actually getting that motion and range in some of the joints, which we don't normally move them in. Then we have butterfly, as I mentioned before. It's probably not a stroke you're going to be jumping at doing, but it is a stroke that I quite like doing just small bursts during the winter, the off season, perhaps just half a length at a time, and that can really help to add a little bit more strength to your swimming. Okay, so how can you start incorporating these other strokes into your own training? Well, the obvious and probably the easiest place to start doing it is in your warm-ups, your warm-downs, and your recovery reps. And that's going to start adding some really nice variety to the training. As I mentioned before, breaststroke is totally different from freestyle in the movement, so I actually really like to include it in the cool down, just to give me a break from freestyle, having done that for the whole session or most of the session, and really start to stretch things out. And if you are starting to do some longer reps, 300, 400, 500 meters and so on, then actually why not think about doing 75 meters freestyle followed by 25 meters backstroke, and keep repeating that over. Again, that's just going to break things up really nicely for you. But if backstroke is fairly hard for you, you can almost think of it as a fartlek effort. So you're doing 75 meters front crawl easy, followed by 25 meters backstroke at quite a hard intensity. Or if you like, why not use breaststroke instead of backstroke, or you can alternate between the two during the same rep. Now, if you are feeling really cheeky and you really want a tough workout here, then why not include some individual medley, or IM as I mentioned earlier. I'd probably suggest doing some short reps here, so you can do a little set of individual medley, something like 4x100 IM, take a nice recovery between each of those hundreds, and that can really start to add a bit of strength, particularly over the off season. All right, and to finish things off here, we've got a rather fun one because I'm going to amalgamate backstroke and breaststroke into a stroke that we like to call Old English backstroke in the UK. It's essentially a double arm backstroke on our back, but with a breaststroke leg kick. I know it sounds quite weird, but it's something all three of us here on GTN quite like to include in our recovery reps and our warm downs, because we're moving in a totally different way and it's quite a nice peaceful stroke. So just quite nice to stretch that body out, having done freestyle for most of the session. Now, if you have enjoyed today's video, do make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more from GTN, do click on the globe and subscribe. Let's not forget that we do love freestyle and we do love swimming, but doing it lap after lap, it can get a little bit monotonous and boring. So we hope you are going to get involved and start using some other strokes in your own training. If you'd like some help with that, we have got some upcoming videos. We've got how to swim backstroke and how to swim butterfly coming soon. If you'd like to see our how to swim breaststroke video and all the technique behind that, you can see that video by clicking down here. And if you'd like a little bit of a catch up on how to swim freestyle, then you can see that by clicking down here.